Look, you tell the president I call him back when I call him back. Oh, hey guys. So I see you've all returned for another little check on what argument writing actually is. And we did talk about an issue, so now we're going to jump into how do you actually choose your issue and do research with that. Step one. Now, you're probably looking at the wording and think it's a little odd, but it's not odd if you consider the fact I just got off the phone with my mom, who is very Italian. So, step one, you have to find an issue, something that people cannot agree upon, and then you've got to begin to go from that point. Here's what I did. I went online. I didn't spend a great deal of time doing this because the internet apparently has got a lot of web pages to look at. But I did find very quickly a little section that I thought was interesting to us. Video games are too violent. That is something that could be debated. You could say, yes, they are. You could say, no, they're not. And you might have a strong opinion about that. Number 49 here on the list, students should be required to learn about poetry. I paused because I wanted to hear Mr. Polachanan's screaming and yelling in his true blissful happiness about that whole idea. He loves this idea. Next on the list, history is an important subject in school. I'm sure many teachers in the building would agree with that. Students should not be required to show their work in math. That's a good one. That's a pretty interesting one because there's a lot of steps you've got to show. And if you know the right answer, why do you have to show it? Worth debating. Students should not be graded on their handwriting. I really don't think we do a lot of that. I'm going to skip to 54. Every home should have a robot. I am of the opinion that yes, we should definitely have them until, of course, they turn against us. And then I'm going to change my mind entirely. But you get the idea. These are all statements that any one of us could pick a side on. We could say, yes, we like this idea, or no, we absolutely hate this idea. Okay. So you've picked your topic. Step two, I settled on something. For me, I'm going with pets in the classroom. I mentioned this last time. I'm kind of right now leaning towards the idea that I think that would be kind of cool to have some pets in the classroom. So step three, I do research and I find each side of that debate. Step five, I read the pros and cons and I list them on a piece of paper. Yes, I know there's some very sharp ones out there. You've caught this. It actually should say step number four. The reason it doesn't say step four is because I'm terrible at math. Nothing I can do about it. I count 1, 2, 3, 5 every single time. So you know better than I do. Let's talk about these pros and cons. Pros and cons. When I think of pro, maybe you think of this too. Boom, I get an image of an athlete. And that is not what we're talking about. When we're talking about a debate and we're using the word pro or pros, we're talking about any type of information that supports your side of the argument. For me, it's about pets being in the classroom. I'm going to want to collect any information that supports that idea, that it's a great idea to have pets in the classroom. So, pros are the positives for your side of the argument. Cons, you might be thinking of a guy locked up behind bars. That's not what we're talking about. Cons are the other side of the argument, the things that people are putting their thumbs down to what you're saying. And they provide their own ideas, their own logical reasons why your idea is not a good one. So I'm for pets in the classroom. There are certainly going to be people who are against that idea, and they're going to provide, hopefully, for them, good reasons why we shouldn't have pets in the classroom. Step 7. Yeah, really. See, I'm proving my point. I absolutely cannot count. It's really step 5. And I only know that because one of my boys pointed it out for me. You now need to do some reading and some listing of the pros and cons. And that's where this little item comes in. We all know this guy here, woo, right? It's your simple T-chart. Nothing hard about that. You pick a chart and you list on one side your pros, your for side of the argument, or your against side of the argument, the con. Okay? And then you're pretty much on your way from this point on. Can't get rid of this. And that's it. I'm going to keep the video relatively short. It's still under 5 minutes, which is my goal. And I'll put together another one, which will be actually taking a look at some writing and pulling out the pros and cons to an issue. It will unfortunately be a longer video. There's just no way to read and react and record information quickly.